Listen. Sometimes,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, we have to be patient. All right.
Uh-huh.
And I don't always like being patient, and neither do you, right? Sometimes I want
really,
the thing that I want, and I want it now, right? And this is an example of that. I take you to my second penny of the day. GameSpot.com. Konami confirms Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2, but not what's in it. This is from Blair Marnell. After releasing Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1 last year for the modern consoles and PC, it was inevitable that Konami would eventually get around to a second volume. Now, Konami has confirmed that Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2 is on the way, but the MGS team remains exclusive about which games will be included. Via Eurogamer, Noriaki Akamura, the producer of Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, briefly addressed Metal Gear Master Collection Volume 2 during a video about the production of the MGS3 remake. Akamura acknowledged that Volume 1 had issues at launch, and he indicated that the team is taking its time to ensure that Volume 2 has a smoother release. Quote, "Of course, we called the first one Volume 1, so we are making a Volume 2. That much is for sure," noted Akamura. Quote, "We're also worried about how Volume 1 had a pretty rough launch with all the issues. So we're going to do everything we can not to repeat that. But we just have to ask for everyone to give us time." Akamura did not answer fan questions as to which games will be featured in the collection, although he seemingly teased the inclusion of Metal Gear Solid 4 last month. To date, MGS4 has never appeared on any platform except the PlayStation 3. Both parts of Metal Gear Solid 5, Ground Zeroes, and Phantom Pain were available on multiple consoles and PC. Presumably, Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2 will include those titles, as well as the HD version of Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker that was ported to PS3 and Xbox 360. But until Konami confirms that lineup, we can only speculate.
Konami's on their bullshit, maybe.
No, this is a great quote. This is a great thing to hear. This is good news, right?
Yeah.
Now, I was hoping we were going to get Volume 2 this year. I think it would be a great lead up into Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, is to, here's part 1, here's part 2 of all the great games that you love and adore. It doesn't seem like that's the case. It looks like Snake Eater is coming. You know, it'll be upon us probably before March. It feels like that game is ready to go, and so they're just polishing. I hope they're just polishing.
Yeah.
And we are on our way to seeing hopefully a really faithful and really good remake. Metal Gear Solid is a tricky beast to handle, right? Because where do you see the future of this going, right? You package up all these games and you re-release them so that we have them forever, and then you remake a fan favorite version of it, but you stay as faithful as possible to it, right? I think those are pretty good calls so far, especially with the relationship that they have with Hideo Kojima. In terms of a Metal Gear Solid Volume 2 collection, I'd be really, really excited to see what's in store in that. I felt Volume 1 was a lackluster package. It was those games, again, which is great. They didn't run their best, which is disappointing. And there was no panache in the presentation. It was just a bunch of separate apps that you had to download to play each individual game. And even like on the PlayStation 5, when you scroll over to a game and it shows you artwork of the game and it fills up the whole screen, it was just the artwork of the collection, which felt lazy to me. So I would personally like a little bit more panache. I think you've already set the standard that they're separate apps. I would hope that at least like you do some cool artwork with those different apps and so forth. And I hope that the Volume 2 has bells and whistles, like Volume 1 did kind of have bells and whistles, with the inclusion of the original 2 Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snakes. It would be cool to throw in the NES versions of those games, which were not Kojima games. They were recreations by the States, and then Metal Gear 2 Snake's Revenge is a completely different Metal Gear 2. So I would hope that those games do kind of get sort of a repackaging as well. That would be kind of cool. On top of that, you assume there was 3 games in the last one. You assume there's probably going to be 3 games in the next one. Granted, these next 3 games are bigger than the last 3 games, so that's a little complicated, right? So I think it's undeniably Peace Walker and Guns of the Patriots. And Guns of the Patriots is the one for
I know,
plebeians like you. I said it.
I bought that for you. Do you remember that?
No, you didn't.
Physically, I did.
MGS4?
Yeah.
No, you did not.
I did.
It was a birthday present. It was a Christmas present from my sister. Thank you.
No, I bought it.
Because she didn't have the money for it, and she bought it for me, and she didn't need to. I don't know what you got me. I don't think you got me anything.
I know I did. I
You
know
got me
I
Titanfall.
did.
You got me Titanfall. That
I'll
was
leave
years
it,
later, though.
I'll leave it at this.
Right?
I knew it was Guns of the Patriots. That's all.
Very well. Guns of the Patriots is the one that's going to take the most work, right? Because there's not another version of it. Now, granted, there's reports that there was a version that ran on the Xbox 360 before they secured an exclusivity deal. So I guess there's some work already done, but I'm sure that's not finished work. There's still probably levels that are incomplete in that version. So maybe we can kind of Frankenstein monster duct tape together this kind of thing to get it to kind of function. But at the end of the day, like with every PlayStation 3 game, it takes a lot of work to get something off of that console. And so it's going to take some time to get that to work. And they're saying, hey, we heard you. Not up to standards. We're going to meet standards next time. That's good. I appreciate that, especially with games that are more complex.
Konami's definitely entered into its era of like, let's try and do good now.
We're trying to do our redemption arc here.
Yeah,
we're trying to fix it right. And that's what brings me to the next part of this conversation, Connor. What happens after Delta, Snake Eater?
Well,
I think Delta is the branding for the remakes. And you probably just stick with that, probably. Yeah. Where do you go from there?
At that point, the initial thing would be 4. But if they're doing like remaking that.
Why would they remake 4 first?
Because it's the least. I guess they could make 1 and 2. My main issue is that
you go to 1. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they're covering the whole like we'll do it in you assume they're doing it in the next volume. Like the article kind of says, they never say.
I'm not talking the volume collections. I'm talking Delta remakes.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
which is why I'm saying like if they already are doing their job of allowing people to have access to Guns of the Patriots, it would make sense that they'd make one of those older games. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think one you've always called for as being the one that needs to remake the most.
Yeah,
and one that makes the most sense. I think they might go with 2.
1 or Peace Walker.
Peace Walker. That's the other one. I think 2 would be up in the running because of how people consider it. People regard that as like alongside 3, which they kind of just break the mold to go after and remake that one first because it's the most popular one. 2's like right behind that, isn't it? As like the one most well regarded. Definitely, I think made more money initially than the first one.
It's one of those first 3 games for sure. Everything after that, a mixed bag. To me, you have 2 ways of going about it. You get 3 first out of the way, yeah, sure, right? Just to prove that you can do it. And also, that's probably the easiest one to remake because it's the most recent one, right? Mm-hmm. So you're meeting fandom and ease of creation because it's the most modern, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants you to remake a 4. That's not as exciting as a 3 or a 2 or a 1. But 1 is kind of upheld as like this precious gaming icon idol thing. So like taking any liberties with that, your first round out the gate is scary. You have a higher potential of pissing off the fan base with that. I think they cut their teeth and they prove their point with Snake Eater, and then they jump back to 1 and say, "Here's Metal Gear Solid Delta, Shadow Moses." I hate it. I hate it. Too many words now. It's too many. It was already a wordy franchise. Yeah. Now it's way too wordy. So now you call it what? Metal Gear Solid Delta, probably Shadow Moses.
Yeah,
I would assume, or I don't know. Rex, Liquid Snake.
That's shorter.
Fox Die, something like that. This is still a semi-title that didn't exist before.
Yeah. Well, in that way, it would make sense if they're doing it in like the progression of Metal Gear Solid mainline games of like now, 3's obviously in the past, big boss, then going into 1.
Well, Peace Walker would be next, and then 5.
That's true, but like mainline though, let's be honest, most people when they think Metal Gear Solid don't think Peace Walker. I know it's good. I know it's quality.
You should.
It's one of the best, but that's not what most people think.
It is a mainline game, though.
Come on.
It's a mainline game.
It's a mainline game to you because you're a Metal Gear Solid fan.
Metal Gear Solid 5 doesn't make sense if you didn't play Peace Walker.
So, well, who had the ability to play Peace Walker for most of that time?
Whoever bought a PlayStation Portal,
exactly.
Which is a lot of people.
Not comparable to the audience who would play Metal Gear Solid in general. PlayStation heads. Those who play.
PSP sold something crazy like
it did, yeah.
Like 100, like close to 100 million units or something.
The PSP did. How much did Peace Walker sell?
Oh, not 100 million units, but so it was a well received game, and there's more versions of Peace Walker floating around than Guns of the Patriots. So there is a world that we live in where Peace Walker is actually played more than Metal Gear Solid 4. I don't think we live in that world, but, there's a chance. Play Peace Walker. It's fucking good.
Good?
It doesn't matter. I'm going to make you play it one day anyway.
I played it before. It beat
Did
it.
you beat it?
Nope.
Oh, we're going to.
Okay.
It's a very emotional ending. Very emotional.
I know spoilers.
Anyways.
Only
And also,
because
I think it'd be
played
more interesting to do for Volume 2 to do. Right? They're probably going to do Peace Walker 4 and 5, right? And it's probably going to be both 5, Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain, right? That's going to be an easy piece of work to get done, right? I think it'd be interesting if you threw in Portable Ops, which is a very unrepresented Metal Gear game. Not exactly considered canon because Kojima didn't direct it, but it is the closest thing to canon. He worked on it like narratively a little bit, but it wasn't. It's not really like a Hideo Kojima game like Peace Walker is.
No one associates it with it.
Yeah, and there's like some lore.
Way.
There's some lore in that with like Gray Fox and stuff that just feels kind of fan fiction-y. So, Anyways, but I think it'd be cool to throw that in there as well. Where's I going with that? So yeah, I think you do one of two things with remake series: is you go and you recreate the first one, or you recreate Peace Walker. And with either of those titles, to bring them up to modern standards, you have to change gameplay. You have to change environments. You have to take liberties with it from a gameplay perspective. Now, I think the narratives you don't fucking touch at all. Yeah. But the environments, you're going to have to build out Shadow Moses more. You're going to have to make the environments bigger. You're going to have to introduce things like first-person aiming and crouch walking and prone crawling and things like that. So I think you go through and you make a couple of remakes. You probably go all the way through 4. I don't think 5 needs a remake ever. But I think you do remake. Now. I think you remake 1 through 4 and Peace Walker. From there, Connor, you try and make a new Metal Gear Solid or a new Metal Gear something Metal Gear branded at all.
Honestly, I think so because
at that rate you're talking what, over a decade from now.
And nuts. I mean, they might even do it earlier than that. I mean, we had Rising Revengeance come out back in the day.
Oh God, put Rising Revengeance in a collection, please.
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean that was cool. That was able to stand on its own.
Yeah.
So they obviously can't do things with Solid Snake anymore and all the convoluted things like Metal Gear Solid's associated with. But you can still make it in Metal Gear Solid world with the characters, Raiden particularly.
We can go forward.
Yeah.
We in real life are further than anything that happens in the Metal Gear saga.
Yeah.
Because I think if memory serves, Guns of the Patriots is the most modern game, and I think that game happened in 2015.
Are you talking about mainline?
Yeah.
Ones? Okay. Yeah.
I don't think there was anything. I think even if you include the spinoff stuff like Acids and stuff, I don't think any of those are like super in the future.
Oh, like Revengeance included?
Oh, Revengeance. Well, isn't that like 2018 or some shit like that?
I'm trying to remember. That's why I was like looking it up. God, I just can't pull up the charts. I'm like, Jesus. At a certain point, it gets so convoluted, and you're just like, what is this?
I'll just make it easier.
Oh, do you have it something like that?
I'm just going to hit the Google. What year does Metal Gear Rising Revengeance take place in?
Look at that.
Boom, 2018.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
When is Guns of the Patriots? Like 2016?
15?
Yeah.
I think it's 15.
Okay. Yeah, we're past that.
Yeah, we're well past that. So, like...
No cyborg ninjas either.
There's no need to return to those characters, but it would be cool to return to that world. And then what do you do with that? I think telling a new story and just saying, hey, the idea of a Metal Gear exists here. You still have to make it super like political and like I think there are hallmarks of the franchise you have to uphold. But I'm not. And if this is assuming Delta Snake Eater is a hit, this is assuming whatever they do after that is a hit. And the small liberties that because they're going to take more and more liberties as they continue down this path, right?
You say that.
As long as they keep the fan base happy as we keep going, I think they can restore enough faith to where we're like, okay, we're cool, we're fine. Especially, and I don't think this will happen, but especially if Kojima ever steps out and says, "Hey, man, thumbs up, I'm cool, they can take it."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. They tried to milk it back in the day. They clearly failed, especially because it was right on the back of Hideo Kojima's controversy of leaving.
Yeah.
And
Survive was trash.
Yes, and Survival was, Jesus, very bad.
Very bad. I saw some gameplay of that recently. It's impressive how bad it looks.
Yeah.
It looks like shit. No, like graphically looks like shit. how are you in the same engine, using the same models, using the same map, and you look like garbage? How did that happen?
That's why it was so surprising. And so, if they're able to get this off the ground, I don't think it's really a doubt in my mind that they're going to continue with it. They're doing it with Silent Hill as well. Of course, it's not as hard line of a narrative that they need structure around, or have a guy who's like, this is a Hideo Kojima game. None of the Silent Hills are like that.
It's not you don't have an auteur behind it, But Metal Gear is a more complicated story.
But still, they don't want to just sit on their IPs and just say, well, let's do remakes of what already came before. They want to do more. And they seem to have an investment.
They can live off the remakes for a little while, though.
They would, and they could. But eventually,
I don't think so much with Silent Hill. I think Silent Hill 2, maybe even 1 gets a remake, and then from there, just give us a new Silent Hill.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You would think, right? And then, I don't know, make a Castlevania at some point. But let's be honest, the cash cow is Metal Gear.
Yeah.
And that one, it needs to be held as precious, Because...
by people like you, because you're a, dick rider.
Come this fucking January, Connor, you're going to play the best fucking video game ever made. You're going to look at it with an objective eye, and you're going to play it and enjoy it, and you're going to be like, you know what? As a mature gamer, not some fucking plebeian you played when you played it when you were 15, you're going to be like, you know what? Tavin, you're right. This is the greatest game ever made.
Tavin, for the record of everybody else, he played this when he was a kid. So by that same stroke...
But I played it as a grown man.
But he's still riding on those coattails of that childhood. Still going. It's gonna end. It's having sometimes you got to put it up on the coat rack and just go.
So here's the thing, Connor. I'm gonna make you play the original Snake Eater, and then Delta Snake Eater is gonna come out shortly after that. Are you gonna play Delta Snake Eater? Because you didn't play Dead Space.
I did not. I don't know.
And it sounds like Dead Space did more than what Delta's doing.
It entirely depends on what's happening at that time.
Yeah.
As always seems to be the case with this podcast. Things change all the time. Games got to be played.
I'm gonna make you play it.
This guy.
Yeah. And you know what, Connor? You know what brings this whole conversation all the way around?
What's that?
If they do a Metal Gear Solid 3 PlayStation 5 Pro, I'm gonna buy that. I'm gonna get it.
I just called you a dick rider, didn't I?
I mean, I got to, right?
You want to.
If they paint it green and have him doing the salute on it or some shit,
You want to try and phrase it like it's a requirement at that point, but it's not. You just want to ride that.
I want that collector's edition, but it's all sold out, and it sucks.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, it might come back on again.
It was okay. It wasn't cool. It was okay. It
was
was neat.
You're just chill, so you'll buy it regardless of how cool
I would like
is.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out for it.
Well, Snake Eater's the best video game ever made, Connor. So why wouldn't I want
Keep saying that.
all the great memorabilia for it?
I don't know. Why would you?
I want a tattoo of the original Snake Eater cover with the him hiding behind the tree and the orange and all that. I want that on my back.
This guy's saying all of this stuff. Never played Rising Revengeance. Never cut things in half at great speeds in great quantities.
I don't have to play Rising Revengeance to know Snake Eater's a better game.
Sure. Yeah. And then you also have no balls and no. You're like the tip of your dick's gone. Not like foreskin, but like the tip of your dick.
What are you talking about?
I'm just saying
Did you cut your dick off?
You're emasculated. I said you're emasculated, which is why you would have an opinion like that.
What are we talking about now?
I'm saying you're wrong because Rising Revengeance is better. It's cooler. On that alone,
It's probably cooler. It's probably cooler.
It's also fun. It's also just fun.
Oh yeah. It looks a lot of fun. I want to play Rising Revengeance. Got fucking
a lot
forced stealth sections in it that don't look very entertaining or fun.
Just bullshit. Just say fuck it. Just say fuck it.
Just say fuck it. Cut him.
Go through.
Just cut him up.
Yeah.
Cut them all up.
Nothing stopping you.
That game could use a remake.
It could.
Cut more things. In more ways.
With more particle effects.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just make a second one. I'd rather have that.
I don't want to see these characters ever again.
You're such a fucking...
I want them to live in what they live in, and that's it,
You want them to live happily, don't you?
Me? Hopefully, one day.
You don't get that.
Why not?
Get that? Because there's a give and a take. And when you shill so much for this game franchise, you're going to have to get something taken from it.
Am I shilling for it?
I'm going to say you are.
Oh, just because you don't like it when I'm a fan of things.
Well, no, it's a way to make people who watch this make it seem like you shill for it rather than just be a reasonable fan.